Hey, Geeks. This is Chris Futrell, and when I'm not... You guys smell that? Spaceship Earth. Rome burning. I love that... Wait a minute. I'm not at Spaceship Earth. What? Oh, that's Kurt's birthday cake. That's a lot of candles. When I'm not wishing Kurt a happy birthday, I'm going geeking on WDW with Curtis and the whole geeking family.
Fun to hear Chris Futrell. He is hysterical, I think. Thank you, Chris, for the intro. You'll be hearing more of Chris Futrell today on this week's podcast. Hey, Disney World Geeks, Curtis Stone here. I'm the Podfather host of this amazing Geekin' family. Welcome to episode 556 of the Geekin' on Walt Disney World podcast. This week, Chris Futrell joins me to review his latest bracket-style series of polls on the Geekin' family's favorite lounges in Disney World. And I've been having fun talking and hanging out with friends like Chris, reviewing Disney parks for 10 years. Yes, April 2nd of 2014. I started this podcast with my daughter, Lindsay. On our dining room table, I had an iPad for recording that was connected to that camera adapter into an old mixer. Well, it's old now. A Yamaha mixer that I bought, or I got it for Christmas. Yeah, the family bought it for me for Christmas, and the microphones that we used. 10 years ago, we started podcasting about Disney World, our trips to start off. And then we started meeting some people that are also interested in Disney World. We started calling them geeks, and they've become huge friends of ours and really part of our family, our Geekin' family. And we'd love for you too to join our Geekin' family. We got an amazing private discussion group in Facebook. Search for Geekin' on WDW Family. You can ask your questions, share your trip pictures, and just have fun with one of the best group of Disney World geeks on the internet. We're independent Disney authorized travel guides with FTC Elite Travel, and FTC Elite Travel is an authorized platinum Disney travel agency. We'd love to be your Disney travel guides. Help you book your room tickets, dining reservations. You'll notice many of our guests on the podcast book their trips or transfer those trip bookings that they book themselves over to the Traveling Tiaras. That's my wife, Margita, and her good friend, Auntie Judy, helping you out at travelingtiaras@gmail.com. Just look up their email on that app that you listen to the show. The show notes are there, my email, their email. We'd love to talk to you about your Disney adventures or Universal. Margita just told me, she says, remind everybody, I'm also authorized for Universal Studios because she's just spent like 8 hours doing their training. Boy, it's looking really exciting, isn't it? The new park that they're building. We've got a couple friends of the show that are working on that park. They can't tell us a whole lot with that NDA that they got to sign, but it's looking exciting for next year. Margita and I are definitely going to be going to Universal. If it's not this year, definitely next year, see the new park. But yeah, if you want to book that too, we're available for you in those Disney cruises. Thanks everyone who made my taxes really difficult to do this. I hate to, does anyone like doing taxes? I bless you if you do, but it's good to know that they're done. And thank you so much for being clients of ours and listening to the podcast. Boy, this was a lot of fun talking with Chris about this bracket that he did. It's just like the NCAA basketball tournament, which I am loving right now because my UConn Huskies are ranked first, and boy, it's going to be disappointing if they get knocked off. But I'll be watching them later tonight, and it's really exciting. They got a great team. I hate to say it. They look like it's one of the best teams they've ever had. But anyways, Chris did a fantastic job with this bracket, exploring the lounges at Disney World, putting a lounge up against some of your favorites. It's really tough sometimes. So we had some fun talking about the surprises that we saw during the polling and how he picked the 64 lounges that were chosen for the brackets. You know, it's tough when you're not chosen for the big tournament. Which ones were left out, which ones, why they made it. And we go into detail discussing the Sweet 16 and those favorites of the Geekin' family. You know, I love my food and drink when I'm down at Disney World. Also, check out Chris and his wife, Brandy. They host a podcast about marriage called Prime Marriage Podcast. Look it up, primemarriagepodcast.com. Listen to Chris and his wife. They're fantastic. And I did see, Chris, you had a couple episodes of a Disney podcast out there when I was checking iTunes out. Well, lounges are great to rest, relax, eat, and have a drink. This week, Chris and I review Geek and Family favorite lounges in Disney World. Well, I've been enjoying the men's and women's college basketball tournament, especially because my team here from Connecticut is picked to win the whole thing. I'll be watching them later on tonight. But I've got a friend of yours and mine who did something really cool in our community. We're going to do a little bracketology course or show today like they do for the college basketball, but he did something really fun. He does this a lot. Please give a warm Geek and Family welcome to Chris Futrell. Hey, Chris.
Hey. How are you? How are you, geeks?
We're doing real good. And you really helped us enjoy something related to our Disney World. Lounges are one of our favorite things, Chris, to do when we're in Disney World. I often say, don't forget the lounges if you like to have lunch somewhere that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or a snack, right?
They have some of the best little small eats and different small plates and things you can go after. And usually you can get in without scheduling it 60 days or having to endure a long wait. Now, there are some that were in the bracket that you do indeed have to endure a long wait to get to, but those are few and far between.
Did you go to a few lounges when you and Brandy went on your last few trips?
Oh, yeah, we did. We visited quite a few over the last few months. I cannot say I've been to all of these, but some of these are just obviously there are not 64 full-blown lounges at Walt Disney. I included a lot of pool bars and speakeasies and pretty much anything that you didn't need to schedule a reservation for, or as was brought up on Wednesday, they were like, well, how did Geyser Point get in, but Three Bridges didn't? But Geyser Point is the pool bar for Wilderness Lodge. There is no other pool bar. So it kind of snuck in by default, by proxy because of that. I didn't have a tight set of criteria for it, but for the most part, no place that you could get a full reservation for, which is why places like the Edison or what's the little cellar bar at Disney Springs, the Maria and Enzo's, the Enzo's Hideaway. There are several that are like that are alcohol oriented, but you can still get full 60-day reservations for. I didn't include any of those.
I wonder, I was going to ask you the question. You're already answering my question. How did the selection committee pick the 64 lounges? I wonder.
Yeah.
This seems pretty comprehensive group of lounges, Chris.
It really is. Once I eliminated the places that require ADRs, it was almost 64 on the nose. There were very few I had to eliminate or take out of the mix. There were a few, but it lent itself to the list automatically. So it was great. Worked out really well.
I totally agree with pool bars. They should be there. They are some of the fun places to lounge around.
They are, and there were a few of them that snuck past the first round. For the most part, most of them got eliminated in the first round when they're going up against bigger lounges or things like that in the park, but there were a few that snuck through.
Yeah, you mentioned Three Bridges just quick. I just wanted to elaborate on that too. And I want everyone to know because I got confused. I have the glass here. I finally found my glass from Villa del Lago, Chris, which is what we all call.
That horse is really getting tired of getting kicked, Kurt. You are kicking that dead horse over and over again. Yes, we know. But if you look it up on the website, it's still Three Bridges.
Yeah, I think on the app and the website, but when you're there, the t-shirt says Villa del Lago, Chris.
Yeah, they don't have very much signage. They really don't. It's Villa del Lago is the whole island there in the middle. Even though the restaurant's called Three Bridges, that's pretty much the only thing on the island. So why? Yeah, well, I can understand the confusion.
I don't know. You're saying the island is called Villa del Lago? I thought because right on the side of the restaurant it says Villa del Lago. So I don't know. It's confusing. So just I want you, if you're a newbie and you're in Coronado, and you're like, that's gotta be Three Bridges, even though it says Villa del Lago. And that's what happened to me. But was it hard keeping that one off because it's so beloved as a lounge
It
for
was.
us?
I really tossed that one back and forth, but because they have such a full, extensive menu,
Okay.
and it's just as much of a dining place as it is a lounge. Like I said, there were several that were borderline that I had to make a decision on, but that was one of them. That
Was there another one that was borderline?
there were several that I was thinking of. Well, I mean, because what's another one that I was thinking of? The Paddock Grill at Saratoga
Oh
Springs,
yeah.
and there's also the Spyglass Grill at Caribbean Beach. And both of those they're not the pool bar, but they do have a pretty big menu, but they're outside and they cater more to there were several that
Yeah.
were borderline, but almost quick service type restaurants instead. So I left
Hmm.
them off. So
Well, there's always controversy when
there is.
the
There
teams are
is.
being picked.
No one
Somebody
no one is
loses.
happy about everything, right?
Someone's going to be disappointed.
And this is my thing during March. I do this on my personal page.
Hmm.
I run brackets, not sports related. They're usually either music or movie related. I've got one going right now that is top comedic villains that people are voting on. And,
Yeah.
those get heated. But I do this and I was like, well, it'd be fun. And last year was the first year I did one in our community. I think I did full service restaurants, like
Yeah.
table
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what one. Was it California Grill? I feel like
Yes.
maybe it was
I think
California
so.
Grill.
Right.
But yeah, we did one there and I was like, it would be fun to do lounges and pool bars. So I decided to work that one up. And so it's fun.
Picked the right podcast to share
Yeah.
this one with. I think, Chris. I think I talk about it all the time, so maybe I attract all the lounge lizards to my show. We love them. How did you seed them? How did you set them up? Who's against who?
Well, I went onto another group called the Disney Day Drinkers group,
Okay.
and a lot of us are involved with them as well. And so I went to them and started looking at what their top rated lounges were. And I picked out 8. And I just seeded those 8. And I looked for some like, what's the best? There are a lot of people who ask questions in that group. What's the best lounge at Disney World? What's the best bar to go to? And so that's how I got my seedings. And the overall number one, which did not win, in fact, it didn't even make the final 2, but it was close, was Trader Sam's. So that got the number 1 seed. And then Nomad Lounge is always mentioned, as well as La Cava at Epcot. But some of these places are so hard to get into, which I think is probably what knocked them down on their ratings. Trader Sam's and La Cava both. If you don't rope drop them and you don't get there right when they open, you're waiting for
Yep.
a while to get in because they're so small. The footprint of those places are just so tiny that there's just not room to get in.
I agree.
And so that really affects, I think, the voting. It skews the voting. That's why, as much as Trader Sam's got the number 1 overall, I did not expect it to win. And sure enough, it didn't even make the finals.
Yeah, we're going to get into, let's look deep into some of these. Are there any, I want to look really at the Sweet 16 and focus on those, but are
Yeah.
there any that you're surprised didn't make the Sweet 16?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised that Jelly Rolls was not in the Sweet 16.
That's a good point. Well, I wonder how many people really know about Jelly Rolls. We know about it because it's on the boardwalk, which is one of those forgotten places.
Well, that's true.
Really a
And,
lounge. It's more of
it's
a,
really only been on my radar for the last couple of years. They definitely aren't known for food. It's a piano bar. So that's why it definitely qualified for this bracket for sure. But that whole region, I think, that lower right region of this bracket was full of upsets in my mind. I really thought River Roost would be in the Sweet 16. Yeehaw Bob, that he's renowned.
well, actually, as I'm looking at this, those Jelly Rolls and River Roost are in the Sweet 16. They didn't make the final 8.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the final 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both made the Sweet 16. I was shocked they didn't make the final 8, but
Right.
yeah, there were some that Gurgle and Suitcase. People talk about Gurgle and Suitcase at Old Key West like it's just this little honey hole that everyone loves, and I was surprised it didn't make it further.
Well, that's another one. Old Key West, unless you're a DVC member, you might not even know it's over there.
One of your wife's favorite places, the Outer Rim, it did not make the Sweet 16. It got eliminated.
The Outer Rim, you ever go to a place? I've had a couple times I can think of, and this even happens with restaurants. I was having someone on the podcast mention that had a bad experience at a restaurant. Even though it might be one of the beloved restaurants from a lot of people, but I had a bad experience at the Outer Rim with a horrible bartender, like the first time I went there. And I've never lost that bitterness for the Outer
Right.
Rim.
Yeah, that bad taste that leaves in your mouth. Yeah, I get that. I've had that at a few places.
And then we had good ones last few times, but it's so convenient when you're staying at that contemporary area.
True, true. And there are some places that just got a bad draw. You felt almost bad for them because, like, Pedals. How many geeking startup
Yeah.
last geeking planning sessions have we had at Pedals? That place would be a shoe-in to get into the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
However, it had to go up against Tambu Lounge before it got there. And everyone loves Tambu. It's like
Yeah.
the back scratcher and it just got a bad draw.
It's like the team playing against my UConn Huskies. I was watching the number 16 seed against number 1. I felt bad for them.
Yeah, you just get
They had a bad
seat.
draw.
Yeah. And the randomizer can be a cruel mistress when it comes to putting these tournaments together. But
No, but I agree with you. Pedals, take the opposite from what I said about having a bad experience. Not that Pedals is anything special about being in one of the resorts, but yes, we've had some great memories there.
It's a geeking favorite. There are several that are like that. Yeah.
I've had some great memories there. I agree. Tambu Lounge, though, is one of our, speaking of one of my wife's favorites, Tambu Lounge. That's like a go-to almost every trip. Take a break from Magic Kingdom and go over to the Polynesian for the Tambu Lounge.
So were there any in the Sweet 16 that you were surprised to see there?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of the Abracadabra bar too much. And
Okay.
I'm looking at this bracket. They went up against Tutto Gusto, which I'm a huge fan. I love that little quiet Italian wine bar. Although Deirdre and I tried to get in there the last time, her and I were trying to hang out, trying to kill some time. They wouldn't let us in there unless we bought food.
That's not cool.
No, I probably should be upset with that. Good for Tutto Gusto getting beat by Abracadabra bar.
See, Abracadabra is one of my favorites, and mostly because they have some really unique cocktails.
Okay.
They have a Black Magic Manhattan and just a Black Manhattan that are just fantastic.
Oh, good. Well,
And
yeah, there you go.
It's
That's
a
why.
really great place to go have a drink before you're going to have dinner right there at the little Italian place that it's connected to.
Trattoria Al Forno. It's also close to Flying Fish.
Trattoria Al Forno.
Yeah.
It is. So it's one of the because I love the boardwalk area so much, it's one of the few indoor lounges that's right there on the boardwalk that you can just go and relax. And now it's small. It's another one of those places that if it's crowded, you're sitting outside.
Yeah. It's an awkward place if you can't get a seat.
Yeah, it is.
That's one of those places. I can remember when they were rumoring that opening up there, and everyone gets so excited. Oh, wow, they're going to have tricks and it's going to have all this theming. That's the one bad thing. It gets all this hype, and I don't know, it doesn't deliver to any of that magic trick stuff that we thought it was going to be, at least in my experience there.
Yeah. And I love the theming in there, but I don't remember that place opening and I didn't hear any of the hype surrounding it. So to me, it's just a cool place that has lots of neat little nods on the wall to different things, Imagineering things. And so I kind of dig that place. Plus, it has a very unique scent to it. You walk in, there's a scent in that place that's unlike any other place. I don't even know how to describe it. It's cool.
As this was rolling out, Chris, I got to feel like pretty much everyone I picked was picked. Like it went right along with my choices. I'm not really seeing anything that's really jumping out at me that didn't get picked. Oh, here's another one. Speaking of one that's a favorite that's been recently talked about on the podcast that went up against the Giant, went up against the lounge that won. Restaurant Taurus got beat by Geyser Point.
Yeah, I know that's a favorite of a lot of people. I know that the bartender over there, Jimmy, has a very good reputation of being heavy-handed with his pours. So you get stronger drinks there than just about anywhere else. And I understand that. I've heard that. I've heard that it's just a cool little atmosphere. I detest Dino Land so much that I would rather be anywhere in any land in any park than be in Dino Land USA. That whole land is, let's come up with a clever backstory and hope that it can cover a $14 budget, because that's what it is. They ran out of money building Animal Kingdom, and they were like, well, if we come up with a clever backstory for it, this Chester and Hester's dino, yeah, it was, which is why it's going away. Even Joe Rohde is embarrassed by the whole idea of Dino Land. So for me, I was hated on that one from the beginning, and I get it. A lot of people love that place, and I understand the idea of getting good drinks and just a cool little atmosphere, and it is different. So it's nothing against the place in person. For me, it was just a unfair bias against the land it's in.
I agree. It's an oasis watering hole in a deserted place. That's why
The jewel in the Nile. Yeah. Yeah.
that's why it's so popular with our friends. I'm looking at another one that took a shot against a tough competitor. Victoria Falls Lounge, which I love at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, iconic resort, beautiful lounge to hang out before you have a massive meal over at the buffet, or even some of the beautiful restaurants that are at Animal Kingdom. But Victoria Falls Lounge, took a shot against Jock Lindsay's. Not fair.
Yeah, it's tough to beat. And, I remember when the finals came around, one of the good friends of the podcast, Carl, made a comment, and he was like, I have to vote for Geyser Point because there's no cover charge. You're talking about something in the park. Well, you're talking about $130 cover charge just to get to it if you don't have an annual pass. I was like, okay, I never really thought about it that way. But yeah, you're right. If it's in the springs, you're at a resort, you can just get to it. And I think that's a big advantage that Jock Lindsay's has. Number one, it's cool theming. The pilot from Indiana Jones, and they have all the theming on the inside, and they have a very cool outdoor area there too. I enjoy that place as well. Yeah, it's going to be tough to beat a place like
Pool bar. Where is that one? There's one I didn't recognize.
is that. I know it's an Animal Kingdom Lodge, but I don't know if it's Kidani or Jumbo.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one that is, because there's Mahi Pool Bar and then there's Uzima Springs Pool Bar, and those are both at Animal Kingdom Lodge. I'm just not sure which one's which.
So that's probably one I didn't root for, going against a sports bar, which I'm bitter because ESPN is gone. And there's very few sports bars left that you can point to. Rick's Sports Bar has been a place that I've enjoyed. So that's probably, other than that, let's take a look at the Sweet 16. I don't know. There's no names to these. What do you call the regions? There's no names to the regions, but I'm going to stop in the top left-hand corner. Trader Sam's going against Tamboo. That's that one. I know you said Trader Sam's is so popular, but I agree with your point that if it's so hard to get into and it's limited seating, boy, Tamboo, that's a tough one. I'm sure I struggled with that one.
I think there are a lot of people who just have a bad taste in their mouth with Trader Sam's because of having to sit around for 2 hours on a wait list to get in.
Right.
And that'll automatically sour you on it, possibly.
Was that
Once you're in there, it's a lot of fun.
Do you remember if the voting was tight on that one?
Not really. It wasn't a landslide, but it wasn't real close either.
Okay. Yeah, Tamboo's a huge favorite of mine. Where can you get a full pineapple drink? Very unique, as many things.
It is.
There are. Jock Lindsay's going against Abracadabra. Which way would you go on that?
I voted for Abracadabra because, like I said, I really enjoy that lounge.
Yeah.
But once again, I wasn't unhappy that either one of those moved on. Those are both great places.
Yeah. They have a good. I know you like your bourbon drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sway your picks in these?
Absolutely. My picks? Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Where's some of the best places? Maybe as we go through these, you can tell me where your favorite.
Yeah.
You already told me Abracadabra. Jock Lindsay's, I don't know if they have a good bourbon. Although, what's the bourbon that's unique to Walt Disney World?
They have a Knob Creek Disney Select version. Yeah, it's like a Disney Park store pick, basically, of the Knob Creek, and it's really good.
I somehow remember that at Jock Lindsay's or in Disney Springs. saying to my friend John, that's something I've never had before. And I'm hanging out with you. I want to do that. All right. Yeah. Jock Lindsay's is one of my top. It's in my top list. La Cava going against Enchanted Rose. Yeah, that is a shock to me. I give, you know how much I love my Mexican frozen lime margaritas. Although La Cava,
Yeah,
like you said, is hard to get into. You really got
it
to rope
it
drop it to get
it
in.
is hard to get into. I've only been there once, and it was with the Geeks.
Okay.
We had a great time there, but it was tiny, like 5, 6 little tables. Enchanted Rose is big, but I'm still shocked Enchanted Rose got as far as it did because the drinks are very expensive.
Okay.
If I had to pick the place on this list that the drinks are the most expensive, it would be Enchanted Rose.
Yeah.
And so that it surprised me. Maybe the Geeks are wealthier than I think they are, but I'm not. And so I have a hard time doing more than just one and done there. And okay, let's move on to somewhere where I,
Well,
you
it's
know,
on the monorail loop. Maybe it's in the
it is.
iconic resort. But yeah, La Cava, they have, I always talk about my frozen lime margarita, but the guava margarita in there, I really like too. And
Yeah,
some
they have an
chips.
avocado
Yeah,
margarita in
avocado.
there.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant. The avocado one. Yeah.
And they also have this one where they blow these weird smoky bubbles and try and cap it on the top of your drink. We watched one guy, I think he was new, try to get one capped on there, and he busted like 19 bubbles before he finally got one to land over the edge of the glass. But it's still a cool experience.
Margita was always really fond of the bartenders there that would do a tequila training course for us and
Hmm.
talk about all the different tequilas and teach you how to properly do a shot of tequila with the lime and the salt. And she liked it so much. I remember the next time I went back, she had to have them redo the course. Yeah, that's a nice atmosphere there in my favorite place is the Mexican Pavilion. Oga's against Geyser Point in the lower bracket here. No surprise. Geyser Point. I guess not to give it all away. Maybe did we give it all away yet who ends up winning, but I love Geyser Point. I'm still a little bit surprised everybody loves it and talks about it so much.
Yeah, it's just popular, and I get it because it's right. Its location being right there on the lake, being able to watch the geyser go off every hour or so, the food elevates it to a
Mm.
higher place than most other lounges. Let's be honest, that bison burger is just
True.
out of this world.
Mhm.
So I'm not surprised that it was there. It's a classic Walt Disney World lounge
Mm.
location.
But it took down the Star Wars cantina. I mean, they should be embarrassed.
I mean,
The
are you talking
iconic
about the
Star
place
Wars.
where you get in there and then they kick you out after 45 minutes and they make you stand the whole time? No, I was not surprised at all by this. I thought Oga's was really cool the first time I went, and
Mm.
I really don't have any desire to go back. Their drinks are very watered down and weak, and they got every time I've been in there, other than with the Geeks, I have to stand at a table.
Oh, let's be honest.
So
You're still mad and angry
let's
about the
we're not going
Rancor
to bring that
teeth.
up again, are we? Okay. I
You're still
am
bitter,
a little
Chris.
bitter. I am still a little bitter about that. But I was trying to save money, Kurt. I was just trying to save money by getting a beer and not getting an expensive cocktail. And I ended up with $104 beer flight on a souvenir thing. But either way, I don't understand the concept of a place that, well, you have 45 minutes. That's all you get. And plus, you probably have to stand the whole time you're here. So
I
it's
think
irritating to me.
you're
Now,
calling it a tourist trap.
I've heard this whole late night at Oga's thing, if you can be one of the last tables in there,
Yeah.
is one of the best experiences you can have.
Yeah.
I've not experienced that. I can only go by what I've experienced.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good way to experience Oga's. But I think we're saying it's a tourist trap, although you got to do it once.
I'm not saying that. It is a cool place, especially if you were into the original movie, because it reminds you so much
Yeah.
of the little cantina that, Obi-Wan and Luke went into
Yeah.
to try and find transport. So yeah, I don't remember. The name escapes me right now. But anyway, yeah, it's a cool place. I enjoy being in there, but you feel like you're in there too short. You feel like you're getting rushed out. And after
Now,
a tired day of walking around the whole Hollywood studios, you really want to sit down.
that's right. Looking in the top right-hand corner bracket, this one was a hard one for me. Nomad Lounge against Baseline Tap House. I love Baseline Tap House, and I love its location. I was so grateful. That's one of those ones where I heard the rumor and it delivered, and it still delivers for me because it is a safe place for me to hide away. I had a great fun story with Geeks calling me saying, "Hey, we're going over to Baseline Tap House," and I could avoid the Muppets for the 100th time. But yeah, I really love Baseline Tap House. But yeah, Nomad Lounge is iconic in my group, so I get it. It took that problem. I don't know how easy that one was, but that this is where I can see the comments saying, "I'm having a tough time with this
Yeah,
pick."
and that's where it started to get tough. There were people starting to say, "How do you pick your favorite kid?"
Yeah.
Basically saying that. So yeah, I get it.
This is where I said, "It's so good I can enjoy them both, and I don't have
Yeah.
to restrict myself to Chris's tournament." Rose and Crown against Dahlia Lounge. Interesting.
Yeah, that result is probably the most upsetting to me, but only because Dahlia is my favorite lounge on property. Like,
Oh, wow.
without
Yeah.
even a question. The location, the scenery up there, as you discovered, the bathrooms that you can actually watch fireworks from. And plus, they have my favorite drink on property, the Alla Prima Manhattan, which is just fantastic. I make a point to go there at least once, and it's my favorite place. So, and Rose and Crown, I've been there before. It is always so packed. Just you have to wait forever to get it because they're two or three deep usually at the bar anytime you're there, and you can't drink in there. You have to take it outside and find somewhere else to. So I get it. It's an iconic place, and it's probably one of the most popular when it comes to around the world, most popular places in Epcot. But still, I was hoping Dahlia would pull out the win, but that one also wasn't really that close. Rose and Crown really did well.
You're doing a great job in promoting Dahlia Lounge. I don't wonder how many people even know because, again, it's not in
Oh yeah, if you're
location.
not staying there, then you have to already know about it because it's not like you're going to find it on the monorail loop or on the Skyliner loop. It's not on either one.
Right.
But yeah, so if you're not staying there, you pretty much already have to know about it because you're not going to stumble upon Dahlia Lounge.
I love the towers. You've heard me say, like, I bought my DVC at a tower where there weren't any, and now we've got 3. And
Mhm.
the top of the lounges, you're right. You're selling it to me. I've got the sweatshirt. I got the glass from Rose and Crown. I had my wife ruined one of my glasses in the dishwasher recently, but yeah, I even got the bottle opener, Chris, for Rose and Crown. But I can take your argument there. Being up in that spot, we had another great meet up there too. Lots of
We
memories.
did.
We had
We did.
some
And
good
those
times.
super comfy couches out on the land, out on the balcony there, it's just great.
Yes, and I may have been one of the first to notice. Well, it was interesting because we had our geek meet around Epcot for the 2 birthday parties with Kevin and Tony Ann the night before. And I enjoyed the fireworks show for the first time at that particular time, and it was awesome. And then I'm up at the Dolly Lounge the very next night. I go to the men's room to relieve myself, how else do you want to say? And I'm looking down and there's the fireworks again.
Yeah, it's a very weird placement for a window, but you know what? It works.
Only in Disney World.
Yeah.
But Rose and Crown took it from Dolly Lounge in our group. Jelly Rolls versus the Brown Derby. Now, Brown Derby, iconic for me and Margita too. That's like that spot to sit and relax in the middle of the park is one of my favorites. You got a favorite between the Jelly Rolls and Brown Derby?
I have never been to the Brown Derby or the Brown Derby Lounge.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, is the lounge only outside?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And it looks like a pretty relaxing place to do it. It's always packed every time I see it. And I'm like, I feel like it's another one of those places where you'd have to rope drop
True.
to even get there. And it just hasn't been a priority on Hollywood Studios days. That's just not ever been a priority. There's so many attractions there that are so hard to get onto. So you almost feel like, well, if you're going to rope drop anything, you need to be either at Slinky or Tower of Terror or one of the Star Wars attractions. That's never a relaxing park for me. That's always a run park. So I've never been there. I wouldn't mind going there. I don't have any problem with it. But Jelly Rolls, the first time I had been there was this last G3 with the Geeks, and it was amazing. I wish I had been down there with you guys, but we got there so late. We were stuck up on the top level.
Okay. Yeah.
but it was an absolute blast. That's my kind of thing. A piano bar where, oh, just those guys were so talented. And it didn't matter what you threw up there. They knew it. They knew the song. They didn't
Yeah.
have to Google it. They didn't have to look it up. They were like, oh yeah, they were like encyclopedias of music knowledge. So it was incredible.
You like
Well,
music.
It's how it got one of the top seeds.
Yeah. Sweet 16 you got to be proud when there's 64
Hmm.
in this. And you're a big music guy. You like music.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Me too. You heard me talk about it. These two places, Jelly Rolls and the karaoke in that area, were two things that were legendary in the conferences that I went to, and I had never gone before. And to get a chance to do both with my community, the Geekin family, and it was just, I'll never forget that night. That was one of the most fun nights I ever had at Disney World, that Jelly Rolls night.
Right. Yeah, it was fun. And I felt like the G3 before that, when we went to do karaoke, was also a lot of fun. That was another one of those borderline things. Do I add places that aren't Disney owned? Because I almost put kimonos in this list.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, but they're not, I know they're on property, but they're not Disney owned.
No.
I'm going to keep it to just Disney owned. I'll make it simple for myself and not.
Yeah, that's a tough one to
look
leave
at
out. You're right. Because, although, again, not a lot of people may have been over there unless they were
No,
hanging out with
that's
us doing karaoke, because it's buried in the Swan. But yeah, so Brown Derby came ahead on Beat Jelly Rolls. But that's, again, another tough one. And Bar Riva against River Roost. Now, River Roost, I have never really been to, except for I've only been there one time, because that's where they have
I
Yeehaw
was there.
Bob. Right? You were there too.
I was there.
Did you have any fun that night, Chris?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun that night. That was the night of the infamous Glenn spit take, where he just blew his drink all over me. Yeah, I was soaked. But yeah, which is probably why that place ranks so highly for me. That, and I'm not a huge fan of the Riviera, so that automatically that's
Okay.
so for me there was no comparison. But I've heard so many people talk up Bar Riva that they really like it. They really like the Riviera and that aesthetic or whatever it is. So I didn't have a dog in that race really, but either way, I would have liked to have seen River Roost come out on top, but it didn't.
Chris, I'm so glad you're a forgiving person after my community spit on you. Braid you, I guess, is really
Yeah.
Don't make them laugh when they're drinking. That's partly
kind of
your
my
fault.
It is. I took my responsibility for that.
Yeah, Bar Riva. I haven't, you know what? I haven't, although maybe I've had a drink there. I've never really tried the food, but yeah, our listeners talk about it quite fondly. I love the Riviera. I'm talking about it a lot right now because I was there recently. And River Roost, yeah, you got to be a fan of Yeehaw Bob and the fun times over there. It's pretty unique with the entertainment. But Bar Riva beat the River Roost. I wonder what Glenn Kessler voted for. That must have been tough for him. I know he likes them both.
He does. And yeah,
that was painful.
I didn't pay much attention to who voted for what. I can look at that and go in and see who did, what, but all I would do is like, no, this would just make me mad at people that I have no right to be mad at. So I'm not even going to look at who votes for who. I'm just going to take the results for what they are.
The final 8, you're not going to hold any grudges. Yes, me either.
No.
It's like when people on the podcast, this one I'm editing right now, it's coming out Monday, the family did not like Ohana.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, that hurts. That hurts when Ohana doesn't come through.
Yeah.
It's painful for me sometimes, but
no, I get it.
Luckily, over the years, I've had pretty good luck with my recommendations overall.
No, you'll have that from time to time. I remember G3, not this last one, but the one before, when we went to Three Bridges at Villa del Lago, and we had a meal there, and service was awful. The food was very mediocre, but I've always had great experiences there. We went back this last December, had a great experience there. But now I know there's several people in our community who have a bad taste in their mouth because of that one time. And I was like, I hate that. But it is what it is. They had a bad experience. I've had a bad experience at several places. I probably won't go back to Toledo. I probably won't. Topolino's is not my favorite. And I've had so many people that just like, oh my gosh, it's the greatest ever. So I get it. That's why I never try to get upset at other people's biases, because you never know what kind of experiences they had at places.
For sure. Absolutely. And You go back the next time and have a wonderful experience like you never had before. It's
Hmm.
take our word for it. It happens. Now you say that River Roost that night, the servers were horrible,
Oh my gosh.
right?
If it hadn't been for the fun that we had with Yeehaw Bob, that place probably would have ranked near the bottom. But because of that, and it was just incredible. Yeah. Because, yeah, the servers were awful. Absolutely
It
awful.
was like the
I
right
remember
after
waiting,
COVID. It was,
40, 50 minutes for a drink to
yeah.
get, it was crazy.
Matter of fact, I had 2 Cokes that night and we were there fairly early. I don't remember what time. We were there like an hour. Wasn't we were there like an hour before he even came on? I
Yeah.
had 2 Cokes that night. And I swear he didn't come. I thought they were free because he didn't come back for me to pay till like 11 o'clock that night or something.
Oh, it was
Near
nuts.
the
It
end.
was nuts.
I thought they'd forgotten about me.
And they make it weird because if you get tired of waiting on someone to come take your order, if you go up to the bar, they will ask you, "Are you at a table?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then you have to wait on them. Sure, I'm here. I'm standing here.
And you're available.
You're standing here. Let's work together and get this guy a beverage. But they don't do that. And they're like, no, you got to go back up there. You got to wait. You got to play by the rules. So,
Yeah.
like, what? This is crazy.
Sometimes
But-
they're not well attended. I've had that problem at Tamboo Lounge in the past, but to each, we'll see. All right, we're in the final 8, Chris. Top of the bracket, Trader Sam's versus Jock Lindsay's. For me, I love having some fun at Trader Sam's, but Jock Lindsay's for me is one of my favorites. I love that location at Disney Springs. I'm not sure. It's the relaxed atmosphere along the water. Probably the atmosphere that I primarily love about that one.
Yeah, to be honest, I was perfectly good with whichever one came out of that one
Okay.
alive. I've only been to Trader Sam's once. It was this last December. I finally got a chance to go, and it was just my wife and I. I have a feeling if I had been there with a bigger group, that it probably would have seemed worth the wait a little more than what it was.
Sure.
With just 2 of us, it wasn't the same. I feel like is you need to be there with a group, not like our Geek and Nomad Lounge group, not that kind of group, but at least 5 or 6 people. I have a
Yeah.
feeling that it would just be a lot more special. I almost feel like, and be worth the wait a little bit more because we waited quite a long time to get in. I really didn't care one way or the other. There is no atmosphere in all of Disney like Trader Sam's. When you're in there and you see the volcanoes going off on the windows, and every time someone orders Oa Oa, then they start chanting and throw it on fire. And there's nothing quite like that. Being said, you had to wait a long time to get in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was okay with either one of those going on.
Yeah, all that being said, it's quite interesting. Jock Lindsay's took it down. It doesn't
Yeah.
have any of that. They got no volcanoes going off.
No, they don't. But you can almost always walk in and just walk in.
Have
And
an
so
enjoyable,
that's-
relaxing time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I like it.
something to be said for that.
I like getting down there early evening, 4 or 5 o'clock, even late afternoon.
Hmm.
Like you said, yeah, a nice relaxing time. I've never had a problem if I go in at that time. We've had in September, we had a time with a bunch of geeks there before the Halloween party. So I've had 2 really extraordinary fun geek meets that included Trader Sam's. And
Hmm.
that was one, of course, the infamous Andy's shrinking chair
Yeah.
scene. And also, yeah, we just had some great times there. It is, you're right. If you can bring a bunch of friends, even better. And I can tell you, you can reserve, what did we have last time? Like 25 people or something, right when they were opening up, and they got us all in there that first rope drop of Trader Sam's. So
Mhm.
you can do it. We've done it. Enchanted Rose and Geyser Point. Enchanted Rose. Yeah, like I said, that one's a no-brainer for me. I'm all about
Yeah.
Geyser Point. That one.
No, I agree. Just the food, the atmosphere, the location. The Grand Floridian's not really my scene anyway. I enjoy going in there, especially during Christmas when they really deck it out. But other than that, I always feel like I'm an intruder when I'm in the Grand Floridian. Like, all these people know that I do not belong here. I
a
always
little
kind of get
awkward,
that vibe. I get that vibe about that place. Maybe it's just being from the Midwest and not, I don't know. But Geyser
Yeah.
Point definitely was going to be my winner here.
Opinion when I stayed at the Grand Floridian for the first time at the DVC, which of course I was really excited to stay there. But you're right. I was like, boy, I feel like I'm a little bit out of place. Here.
Yeah.
I'm not formally dressed ever. And there's weddings going on here in black suits, and I'm definitely out of place. But I've had some fun times at Enchanted Rose. But Geyser Point, that laid back atmosphere, you're right. The food and drink and the nice cool breeze floating through the open air is next to the water.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
really weird because normally I would tend to lean into indoor places because 9 months out of the year, Florida is like walking on the surface of the sun. And so I would normally lean into indoor places, but
Uh,
I've never experienced being overly hot there. I don't know whether it's because you're right on the lake and the breeze coming off of
mm,
that. I don't know, but either
mm.
way, it's pleasant. Every time I've been there, it's been fairly pleasant.
Actually, in the winter months, it can be quite cool.
Yes. Yeah.
That
I do.
winter,
The one time I've eaten at Geyser Point with you, it was darn chilly.
yeah.
I mean, we were freezing. I was like, okay, we need to get back
Mm.
to. I need to go get a jacket or something because it's cool.
So true. Nomad Lounge against the Rose and Crown. And I agree with you. I like the Rose and Crown, but Nomad Lounge is going to beat Rose and Crown every day in our group.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's enough sentimental reasons when it comes to our group and how we always have a meet up there and just so many of us. And I will say this, so many of us met other geeks for the first time at Nomad Lounge because Animal Kingdom was usually the first day of the meetup.
Mm.
So therefore, like my wife remembers meeting so many geeks at Nomad Lounge for the first time.
Mm.
I remember meeting so many geeks. If they didn't come to the planning meeting the night before,
Mm.
that was where I met them, was at
Okay.
Nomad Lounge. So there is a huge sentimental value with that
Mm.
place.
I thank you for saying that. And it's always important for me for people who are new. And I have this memory of seeing people I've not met in person before walking up to the Nomad Lounge, the rope drop. How many places really of these lounges are the place you got a rope drop at 11 o'clock, and Nomad Lounge is one of those. You don't rope drop Rose and Crown. You just kind
No, and I remember being out there for the rope drop a couple times and having people walk up and say, "Is this where the geek people are going to meet?" Because I'm new, I'm just now, and I was like, "Yes, you have found your people. Come on, it's incredible."
I love the way you said that. That's the way I want people to feel. Hey, yes, you found your people. Come and because I just know how hard it is to meet a bunch of weird internet people for the first time that they may have heard on the podcast several times that have come a little bit infamous. But I'm so glad our guys really welcome people in. That's one of the places that's welcomed us. Actually, the last time we were there, Chris, I get kind of nervous for the servers. Like, how are they going to? Sometimes you can get some people who are even cast members that are a little intimidated by a big group coming in. Those servers at Nomad Lounge, I said to him, "Hey, I apologize if whatever, if we're loud." Or he's like, "Are you kidding me? I love this." I was like,
They're
"Yes."
always so accommodating,
I
so
was so happy.
accommodating.
Yeah, I know our listeners have made some friends over there that know some of the bartenders too. So that's another reason why Nomad Lounge made the final four. Brown Derby against Bar Riva. Well, I guess you had no horse in that race from what
Well,
you
I
said.
didn't other than my, bias against the Riviera, but either way, when this one came up, even as I was posting it, I was like, "All right, Cinderella, your run is over. You're done now." Because I knew this one would not be close, and it wasn't.
Bar
You know,
Riva was the Cinderella in this
yeah, it had its
tournament.
Cinderella story, but it was done.
Yeah, I hope from this experience, Chris, you know, how many times you got to ride Slinky Dog, honestly?
No, you're right. I need to make it a priority to get over there.
It's time to rope drop the Brown Derby. You just sign up, dude. Like go to the side where the lady or gentleman, the cast member is putting your name down. Get there about 10:30. You'll be good to go and you'll thank me for it, all right?
All right,
Bring your
I'll
lovely
do it.
wife too. She'll
I'll do
enjoy
it.
it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Then your final four is Jock Lindsay's Nomad Lounge, Geyser Point, and Brown Derby. Where was this match held? Was it a beautiful place where like they do the basketball Final Four?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, this one was in Madison Square. Yeah,
Madison Square
absolutely.
Garden. I love that.
100%. Yeah.
Iconic Madison Square Garden right down the street from me. Yeah, this is a beautiful thing, Chris, you did. These four, I don't know. You getting much pushback on these four?
No, I really didn't. I felt like that all four had good reason to be there. And I just, all of them are pretty iconic locations. So yeah.
I hope this is helpful for anyone who's new that doesn't know the lounges and you haven't tried them out. And it's something that I know we have fun with it, but take our word for it. These are amazing places. This is even better than a survey. We had so much fun doing this. Of course, Nomad Lounge takes the championship home. So I'm proud of that one.
It does. Yeah. And they have just, there, you can get some food from some of the items from Tiffin's, which is a signature restaurant, which is right attached to
Yeah.
Nomad Lounge. So the food is a little elevated
Mhm.
when it comes to Nomad Lounge. It was funny in another Facebook group that I'm in. It's a Facebook Messenger group with a bunch of geeks and crushers. And Deirdre was at Nomad Lounge,
Oh,
and she had put a message on there. She was like, normally when I'm in here, there's 75 other geeks with me, and now there's not. The music in here is really cool. So I sent her the full Spotify playlist I created that has every Nomad Lounge background loop
yeah.
on it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like this 2 hour long loop. And she
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I know, I have always loved the music loop from Nomad Lounge. It is one of the coolest places, the coolest music loops that there is in all of the parks. So I sent her that. But yeah, it's just everything about it, the atmosphere, the location right there on Discovery Island.
Mhm.
You're right there by the little river that goes by and
Yeah.
you can see the flotillas if you're outside. Just a great place to people watch. If you're outside, if you're inside, it's nice. It's air conditioned. It's pretty roomy in there with lots of tables,
Yeah.
lots of seating, and they have some outstanding beverages. That tempting tigress, if you're a bourbon drinker, it's just chef's kiss. Very good. Very good.
I agree with all of the above. It's such an oasis in a hot place sometimes too. If you want to cool down,
Hmm.
if you get a little motion sickness on some of the nearby attractions, wait for your family at the Nomad Lounge. And it's even good for families. I had Marcy on the podcast. She has 4 boys. They were talking about the travel quotes that are up around the edge of that. If you remember, if you've ever noticed, look up.
Hmm.
There's some fun things there. But yeah, you're right. The deck outside or indoors, fantastic. I'm proud of Nomad Lounge taking the championship, Chris.
It was
I'm proud
very
of
geeking destined to happen.
it. Well, tell me, you mentioned your 5. Can you give me 5 of your favorite bourbon drinks and where they are on property?
Let's see. I'll go with the Black Manhattan at
All right.
love that one.
There you go.
The Elder Old Fashioned at Homecoming, Art
Oh,
Smith's Homecoming.
yeah.
It's outstanding. Like that very much. Let's see. Tempting Tigress at Nomad Lounge. Once again, just so good. My number one is going to be the Alla Prima Manhattan at Dahlia Lounge.
You mentioned Dahlia.
Absolutely love that
Right.
place. Yeah, so good, so good. And then if I had to go with it, you know what? It's not a bourbon drink, but the Huckleberry Punch at Geyser Point. That one is really good. It's very refreshing
Yeah.
and just really good for on a very hot day. It'll cool you off.
Do you know what's in that one?
I don't.
Think it's vodka based
If I had to guess, I would say yes.
or rum? Okay. I've heard this. Yeah. This has been mentioned before. Another reason Geyser Point came in runner up in the championship.
Yes.
They do have some good drinks too. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for doing this. This was so much fun. I got great engagement from the geeks, and I think it's very representative of the top lounges at Disney World. Well done,
Oh
my
yeah.
friend.
Yeah. As all the results came in, I was like, yeah, this paints a pretty good picture of what our community looks like. It really does, which is great.
Yeah, it's got our little twist on it.
Hmm.
But even if you're a newbie and you want to definitely take our advice, you can have non-alcoholic drinks. Check out the food. It's a great way to get away from the craziness of the park sometimes. So, Chris, how was your last couple trips? I didn't have you on the show. Anything outstanding that in your memory from your last couple of trips to Disney World?
Yeah, trips are always outstanding. We always find a way to have a good time no matter what we're doing. I know that after G3, my wife and I had a holiday trip. We came in December. We had a great time. We stayed at the Dolphin, which was new for us. And we had a balcony room that faced the fireworks, which the Dolphin itself, I felt like was a little bit run down. I felt like it's showing its age a little bit,
Okay.
but that room view made it worth it. And if you find a good deal, you could get those rooms at the same price as a moderate. So always a good thing to look out for.
Yep.
So that right there, staying on Crescent Lake has always been something I wanted to do. I just can't afford Beach or Yacht Club or Boardwalk. This was a good
Rack rate.
alternative to staying right there on Crescent Lake. And
Very
so
good point.
it was great. We stayed there. We stayed Caribbean Beach for the first time. We hopped around to several different resorts. And then in January, of course, we went to Children's Pastor Conference, and that was held at Coronado. So we stayed at Coronado. Now, I've stayed in Grand Destino Tower before, but I've never stayed at Coronado Springs, like the resort. And it was nice. We enjoyed that. We were not too far off from the main building, so the walk wasn't too, but their conference facility is excellent. We just thousands and thousands of people at this conference. Everybody I thought had a really good time. We got to try a lot of new places, Wine Bar George, Spice Road Table I had never been to. There were a lot of different places, Olivia's I'd never been to. There were some places that I had on my bucket list that I wanted to get to. So we got to try a lot of new places, and it was great too. So yeah, the last couple of trips have been great.
Yeah, you know how much I've loved the conferences that got me down to Disney World, and it took a long time before I ever went to Coronado, and I've walked. Those are amazing conference rooms. I'm glad you had.
You would never know that place is that big,
Right.
looking at it on the outside. Then you go in these cavernous conference rooms and all these side offices that they can hold. It was incredible.
That's a great experience. I always love that. I'm so glad you've had some good trips. You got one planned?
I don't, not currently.
All right.
Nothing on the books, which
we'll
is
have to rectify
incredibly
that.
depressing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could suggest December, first weekend in December, there's an event happening.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
If we can convince you, I'll do my Samantha Kuhn impression on you
Which one's that?
when she convinces geeks to go places.
She has done that a time or three in the past.
All right. I'll suck her after you. Well, this was so fun. Are you watching the basketball tournament at all? Or no? Do you not follow?
I'm not, actually. We're being in kids ministry at my church. Easter is next week. That's the Super Bowl. Okay. We have every spare moment is dedicated right now to making sure this next weekend goes off smooth. So
right.
No, I have not watched one.
Well, yes. Happy Easter. I'm going to take off. They don't even give us at work the Good Friday off anymore. You got to take it off, but I'm going to enjoy a nice 3-day weekend and Easter next weekend too.
Fantastic.
Happy Easter, Chris. And again, I so much thank you for doing this. Anytime.
All right.
Should I revoke your admin privileges?
I was going to say, you may want to take away my moderator privileges.
I don't know, unless you want to help me moderate. You've earned the privilege.
Well, it's funny because somebody at work, I was mentioning this bracket that I was doing. She was like, "What group is that?" So she requested a group, and all of a sudden I got the notification. This person is requesting to be. I was like, "Oh, well, I guess, sure."
Did you approve her?
Yeah, I did. I was like, "She's my head of HR."
You made a good impression on the head of HR.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, I think I'll just leave you in there then. So you could do it again sometime for us.
All right.
Thanks, pal. Stay in touch.
All right. Thanks, Kurt. Bye, geeks.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Great job, Chris. That was just so fantastic. Lots of engagement. And it's always fun having those polls in your Facebook group. If you want to check out the winners there and how it all came down, who voted for who, check out our private Facebook group. Just look for Geekin' on WW Podcast Family in Facebook. I had another great interview this past week. The author of a book, Disney World Hacks. The second edition is coming out this week. Susan Vaness joins me, and we review some great hacks for Disney World from the book, and lots of questions about how she does her research and putting the book together. And even some of my Geekin' family had some questions. It's a great use of the Facebook group. I put a question out there sometimes when I'm going to be interviewing someone. If you'd like to ask them a question, you can contribute. I love the group contributions and the collaboration. Thank you, family, for helping me out with that interview with Susan. She was fantastic. What a delightful lady. You'll hear that episode next week. But if you have a Disney blog, YouTube channel, or you're an author, or you're in a podcast, do what Susan did. Reach out to me. There's a good chance I can try to get you on the show. And I'd love to have some new people that we haven't spoken to in the past. I've got John Benzie. Shout out to John. Had a great conversation with John about his trip. He books with Margita and the Travel and Tiaras. so much fun having him on the show this past week. You'll be hearing him coming up. Our good friend Samantha Carpin also is recording coming up. I got Andy Hoffman I'll be recording with in a couple weeks here. There were a bunch of our geeks were down in the parks watching our Facebook group. Glenn Kessler and his kids, Tori Hunt and their kids, they were all hanging out together. It warms my heart so much to see my Disney geek family having fun with each other in the parks. Andy was there with his son, sending me lots of pictures, and we'll be talking with him soon. Probably be able to get Glenn, maybe Tori too. I haven't talked to Tori on the podcast in a while. So if you're listening, Tori, reach out to me. Glenn, definitely, if you're available. I know you're really busy, but love having the new people too. We're starting to get the plans together for Kevin Curtis Allen's UK British are coming to New York City trip, September 7th of this year. You guys up for a New York City Geek Meet coming up this year? September 7th and 8th, Saturday and Sunday. I'll probably come in the 6th. I'm thinking about. Well, we're going to be touring around New York City. We're going to do a Broadway show. We're going to do Hamilton is what we're planning on doing. Maybe see some museums. And we're still talking about it. We got a pretty good itinerary already set. Reach out to us if you're interested in doing that. Kevin's, I think, putting together a little Facebook chat to get that conversation going. So you can let us know if you'd like to be part of that chat and be part of the planning for the Brits are coming. Kevin Curtis Allen and his wife, Deborah, to New York City. Yeah, so proud of Margita doing her training for Universal Studios. She is certified once again. Disney World does that too. I think every year you have to recertify as a travel agent. So she's all set. Email her travelinteriors@gmail.com. Check that app. Check the website. You can get our emails. Reach out to me, kurt.stone@geekinonww.com. Thank you for your Patreon support, guys. That's where you can go. It's a website. You can pledge a monthly donation to the show. I changed the payment on there. If you join, your billing will start on that day, not like end of the month. It used to be, or I'm sorry, the first of the month it used to be. But now it's whenever you join, your billing will start for that. And I appreciate you guys that do that. I got another episode of The Inner Circle. That's a bonus podcast I do. It's live recordings I've been putting out from my January trip are happening right now. Episode 178 is out, the latest one, the Caribbean Beach Coffee Walk. You'll hear me talking with Judy Ken and Margita on the Skyliner. There's the Green Army Men Drum Corps show. And there was a movie preview that was in Walt's Dream Museum area. You know how they have the theater? And Percy Jackson, the preview movie, was there, something that was on Disney Plus that I recorded. And I still have more recordings coming out. So if you're interested in the Inner Circle bonus podcast, join patreon.com. And mostly thank you for supporting the podcast. I really appreciate it. After 10 years, it'd be nice to know people are still listening to the podcast. I love when you guys reach out to me and say hello and get engaged with us, like on the Facebook group. Definitely join the Facebook group. Good place to start because we're committed to helping you enjoy your Disney World vacations. Reach out to me. We do a trip report, book a trip, review plans for trips, kurt.stone@geekinonww.com. Thanks for going geeking on Walt Disney World with us. We really appreciate you listening and geeking with us every single day.
We love you, geeks. Keep taking care of each other like you have been for the last 10 years. Have a magical day, and I hope all your dreams come true. Happy Easter!